Call the meeting to order. This is a Board of Assessors meeting. It's a remote participation open session meeting. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A motion,
I have a motion to approve the agenda as written for Wednesday, November 29th, 2023.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And next is the approval of 10/17/2023 minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look it over? And is there any questions?
I didn't catch that. Somebody was trying to call me in here.
Have you looked at the minutes, Ruth? And do you have any questions on the 10/17/23
Yes, I did.
minutes?
I did have a question on the minutes because I think I had mentioned, I think it was last meeting about how Linda did the assessing on the solar panel request, building permits. And I wanted to add an update to that, what I'm learning from my own solar panels. And I didn't see it on the minutes, so I didn't know where to put in an update on that. Or just do it in new business or something or whatever.
Yeah, I think it would, because that's on a prior meeting. I think you'd have to do it on new business.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
New business or old business? When we get there, we'll deal with that then. Any more discussion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 17th, 2023.
I second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, approval of the motor vehicle and trailer abatement reports for October.
We had this is on page 4 in the packet. We had a total of 13 abatements, totaling $1,058.49 in October. Does anyone have any questions?
I guess the only question I had is if it said we approved it. Do we have that signature on file so that in case anyone checks it, it's been signed?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you is if we could stamp today, if we could stamp the abatements, because we kind of wait for people to come in and just due to the time sensitive nature of it, if we could stamp it.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, we have a motion to approve the motor vehicle and trailer abatement reports for October with a stamp.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to approve the report of posted motor vehicle abatements of October 2023.
Okay.
With a stamp?
Yep.
So with the stamp, yes, that's fine.
Okay. I second it.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Approval of the October assessing department report. Any discussion on that?
I had a question about mailing the real estate exemption applications. Is that done because it comes up that there's an elderly or there's a military or handicapped person on how do you determine to whom to mail the abatements?
Most of the time,
I'm sorry, not abatements, exemption.
most of the time people come in or they call and they inquire and we mail them the application, and depending upon the exemption they're qualifying for, and if they meet the income and asset requirements, we will, and then that's one thing we're going to actually discuss in our executive session, the exemptions, and you will get to review the list and approve them. But that's something we do every year. As a courtesy, we mail out the applications in October, and the deadline for them to submit them is April 1st. But people come in after we mail them, and we try to get them so that they post on the third and fourth quarter bills.
Okay. All right.
I had a question about the staff doing the two butters list. What are those, which two butters? I assume it's something for,
Yeah, a lot of times, someone will come in and request a list if they're working with the planning board. They will come down and we have them fill out the request. And one that I had was for a business that was in Main Street, and they were looking for a liquor license, so I had to do the distance for that. And if it's for planning, or conservation, we have to do the list based on whatever how many feet is determined. And then we have a certified abutters list there of all the parcels. We make up the labels, and then we provide a map in Mr. Mapper.
okay, you do it for the Board of Appeals also, or anything like that?
Yeah, it could be for the planning, conservation, or if it's like a unique request, like a liquor license.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussions on the assessing department report? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Assessors monthly report for October 2023.
I second it. All those in favor?
Sorry. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, we need update on the fiscal year 2024 classification hearing.
Yeah, this is actually a draft. The classification hearing is next Tuesday, December 5th. So I just wanted to go through this with you, and if you have any changes or requests, I finished it, but I'm just wanted to review it with you. I did find one thing that I'm going to change, but we can go through it. It's pages 6 through 23, so I can just go through it. So if you go to page 6, that's just the cover. And then page 7 says the purpose of the hearing, and then the 5 classes of property.
I did have a question about that. I thought that we had already voted to have the residential and then the commercial industrial CIP have that. I thought we had already voted the 2 classifications in.
Well,
We did do that at town meeting sometime.
We have the classification hearing every year, and that's when the select board decides on the residential shift. So we haven't, and they determine what the split's going to be, if there is going to be a split or a single rate. And I'll go through that in the presentation. It's on page 20 where that's decided what the residential factor will be in the CIP shift. So we haven't had that yet. But we do have 5 classes of property, and we also have different exemptions that they could vote on for, that's on page 11. So I'll go through them as we go through the presentation, what can be voted. So we have our 5 classes of property, residential, open space, commercial, industrial, personal property. And page 8 is the list of terms that will be mentioned throughout the presentation, the tax levy, the levy limit ceiling, excess levy capacity. And CIP, when it's referenced, is the class that includes commercial, industrial, and personal property. And our residential factor. So that's what the select board will vote on next week on December 5th. And then page 9 is just the role of the assessors, just, talks about the role, the fact that we used 2022 sales, and if we had limited sales, we used 2021. If there was certain classes that didn't have many, we can go back and use 2021 sales. So it just talks that, how the tax rate is determined each year, and I just kind of did a description. And then the tax rate formula is on the left side, the tax levy divided by the real and personal property. Total value equals the proposed tax rate. Well, the next 3 slides are those discount and exemption that I discussed that can be voted on. And we haven't had, in the past, we haven't had any of these. The first one's an open space discount. So there's a description there. And then, as mentioned, under the select board, they can discount up to 25% of the open space percentage for the share of the levy. So that hasn't been adopted in the past in Ayer. And then the next one is the residential exemption. And again, there's a description and then what's excluded. And then where it's a select board, the select board may adopt a discount of up to 35% of the average residential valuation. And this has not been adopted in Ayer as of yet. And then the third one is the small commercial exemption. And again, there's a description and then the qualifying criteria on eligible properties. The properties that have a valuation of less than $1 million and an average annual employment of 10 or fewer would qualify for this exemption. And then the select board may adopt an exemption of 10% of the value for eligible parcels. We have not adopted.
And they have not done that?
No.
Okay.
I have not adopted that. Page 13 is just the pros and cons of the small commercial exemption.
The question is, what do you have in your past experience and everything? It sounds like this doesn't really advocate for this SCE exemption. So how do you personally feel about it? Is it a good or is it a benefit? There's only one pro and there's a 5 cons. So
Yeah.
what do you?
Well, I think in Ayer, I mean, and I'll explain in further slides, residential is kind of the bulk of the valuation. So commercial is a smaller portion. It was like 28% this year, and that seems to be going downwards. So it's something that the select board would vote on, but you wouldn't want to penalize the commercial businesses in town. So.
Actually, the only thing that affects us as a board is how much time, if the select board does to grant any exemption, how much time it takes us to tweak the camera system in order to make that happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's been a little bit complex this year with the mixed use, because we have to actually do that manually. So just with
that has to be all done all manually.
Yeah, this is something that we're hopefully gonna resolve, because the way that it's set up, it's not, the IAS system is not doing that. So when it comes over, it's not split that way. We have it broken down in the CAMA system for the mixed use, but in converting it, we have to manually put in the percentages of which value.
Depending upon which exemptions the selectmen decide to choose, that could be a labor-intensive operation then, right?
It could. It definitely could.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we can't plan for that in the future to have
we could. It's just with our current CAMA system, we definitely need to look at an option to make it a little bit easier to do that, because the mixed use is there was 30, I think there was 39 parcels that I had to put in the split of the residential. It's not set up to take the residential rate and the commercial rate, the split of that. So that's the challenge in it, but we have been doing that It's just a little bit of work, but yeah, no, that we can, I mean, if they did decide to opt this as a exemption, we could do anything that they decide to do. But I kind of broke it down with the pros and cons of doing it. But if they decide to adopt that, we will do whatever is decided upon in our camera system. It just becomes more of a challenge when, with the current camera system that we have, when we go to do the actual bills and determining, the split and, in this case, and this probably would be done similar to a exemption, a residential exemption, we'd probably do the same thing, with that, or if our camera system wouldn't allow us to adjust that. But I have not had to do that, so I can't really comment on that yet. Yeah.
That's it on that, Linda?
Yeah, any other questions on that, the small commercial exemption?
I guess we don't have to vote on that, I don't believe.
Oh, no, the select board is the one that would
Yeah.
vote on that.
Yeah, right.
So, the next page is number 14. This just kind of shows you the trend of what's happening with the valuation. As you can see down the bottom, you have the commercial, industrial, and personal property, and then the residential. And you can see just from 19 how the residential is really the bulk of the valuation in Ayer, and the commercial is trending kind of downward. And for 24, it was 72% residential of the value, and it said 28 for CIP.
Are we losing a lot of businesses, or what's happening?
We don't really, I mean, there are some that have the smaller ones kind of close. We get notified of that, but we did have, some development that an auto parts store that came in, and I know the economic developer, he's always working to encourage businesses to come here. And then Catania had a big expansion. So there is quite a bit of business in town. So.
But it's being really overshadowed by how much residential is going in though, compared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The residential represents a tremendous amount of value for the town and the commercial. And my next slide kind of talks about if you want to see the actual detail, page 15 talks about the valuation for the residential, the commercial, and then broken down to the industrial and the personal property. So you can kind of see the valuation and the percentages to the right of what that represents. And and then in Gateway, there's an LA for comparison that breaks it down. If you wanted a comparison of last year to this year, you could see that as well. But our FY compared to last year's value, we had an increase of 8.3% in valuation. And then further down, the property type, the average single family home value is 45,123. Last year it was 447,100 with an 8.5% increase. And the median is, and we use median just because it's difficult to do average, just because we've got a wide array of businesses and value from the smaller mom and pop to larger companies. So the median is 342,565. Last year it was 328,600. So that increased 4.2%, which was half of the residential. And a lot of it has to do with COVID too, because we have, office buildings, people work from home. So that definitely has had an impact. Any questions on that?
Okay. The fiscal year 2024 assessing capital request for vision appraisal
Oh.
software.
No, it's
Yeah,
finished.
I was still gonna go through the rest of it
Oh, I'm
quickly.
sorry. I thought you were all
So,
done.
is,
Okay.
yeah, sorry. So then the next sheet just talks about our tax levy. The levy limit, the 2.5%, the growth, which was 1.1 million, the debt exclusions we have and the maximum. And then down the bottom is the just a summary. The levy from 23 to 24 went up 6.1%. So that's kind of what's driving the value here too. I mean, the increase, because I should say the growth, because we have a lot of growth, it allows us to increase our levy. So that's up 6.1%. And I put together like a 5-year summary just so you can see. And with all the costs going up, you can kind of see that it's been last year was 2.3%. And then this year's 6.1 increase. And then getting to the next page, FY 2024 single tax rate. I have to make a change. It says FY 2023 tax levy. That should be 24. And then 2024 valuation. So right now we have a split tax rate. The select board could vote to have a single tax rate. If we had a single tax rate, it would be $16.50 per thousand. And last year it was, if we had a single tax rate last year, we had a split, but if we did, it was 16.88. So it went down. Our tax rate's going down. Our valuation has gone up. So.
And would you explain what the valuation where you have 1,732,419,951 times 1,000 equals 1,650?
Yep, that we determine our tax rate by taking the levy and dividing it by our valuation and then multiplying it by 1,000, and that gives us 1,650. So this is how we determine the tax rate.
Okay.
Or I should say the proposed tax rate, because for a single rate. So those are the two factors. So if you divide those and multiply it by 1,000, that's a 1,650. If they were to go with a single tax rate.
Yeah, because this just the math here doesn't seem to work out.
Yeah, it's funny. I came up with 1,640, but in the gateway based on the numbers, I think it's just I rounded it to match the gateway system. In gateway, it's 1,650. Did you come up with 1,640?
Yeah.
That's what I did too. Yeah, I kept it consistent with gateway because my shift factor and all my residential factor data is based on what's in gateway, the 1,650. And we get that from what's in there. So I did the options table in there. So the options is where all this, you put in the levy and it gives you the tax rate, the single tax rate. On page 19, it's last year's classification data. What we had for the tax rate, 1242 for residential, and commercial industrial personal property 2745. And then the select board voted on November 15th of 22 a residential factor of 0.7375, which was 1.63. And when I get to my next chart, you'll see where that is. So the next chart, which is page 20, this is where the select board will decide whether it's going to be a single tax rate or a split tax rate. And I started off at 1 in last year, and prior to that, I didn't do 1.10 up to 1.40 because we're going to be in this area 1.50 to the max of 1.75. So I didn't list all those numbers just because it's a lot of data. But again, these numbers are based on an average single family value of 485,123 and a median for commercial industrial a value of 342,565. So it breaks it down. If we have a single tax rate of 1650, what the average bill would be for residential and what the median would be for commercial, and it gives you the percentages. So you'd like to kind of see, it being shared, the residential and the commercial. I'm highlighted 1.66 with a residential factor of 0.7427, just to kind of show that that is probably most equal to both residential and commercial industrial. But again, it's their decision to make that decision, vote on that. And then these rates will change if they decide to adopt any of those, the open space discount, the resident exemption, and then the small commercial exemptions. If they choose that, then these rates will obviously differ. So this chart does show you the breakdown of the residential levy and how it changes based on the residential factor that's being chosen.
In fact, if they do vote on any of those exemptions, this whole chart has to be redone, right?
Yeah. 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 This is
So they couldn't do this all in the same night.
I'd have to redo it, yeah. I mean, if they asked me to do it, I would. It's a lot of work, as you can see. You go, and Gateway has a great options table that kind of does it for you, and then I have a spreadsheet where I put in a formula and I am able to calculate these numbers based on the change and what it was. So again, like last year, they were at 0.7375. So they could go between 1.65 to 1.67. And again, our max is 1.75. We can't exceed that. So so I think 1.66 or a residential factor of 0.7427 is kind of equally sharing the burden. But this is will be decided next week. So any questions on that?
Looks very good. It's a nice presentation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. 21 is just the history of the tax rates. So you can see, again, 24 is estimated. It's whatever's decided upon next Tuesday by the select board. And in summary, this is what we're looking to do in the hearing, choose the residential factor, CIP, and then determine the tax share burden for the property classes. So they'll vote either on a single tax rate or a split tax rate and determine the burden, and the shift amounts to commercial, industrial, personal property. And if it's less on the residential taxpayers, classes 1 and 2. And then, as I mentioned earlier, our other options, those are those exemptions and that open space discount, if they vote that in. And that's it for my presentation. Is there any changes or comments that you'd like to recommend?
Saw your presentation last year and it was really great. And so
Thank
this will be just as good. So I think I remember sometimes seeing that you said we have no open space land now. And
We don't have the discount. No, we don't have a, they haven't adopted that.
okay, so, but is there any land listed as open space at all on the tax records? I thought we did not have any open space listed.
I could actually let you know that.
Okay,
I don't think we have that, but I don't want to say without, I will look and see if we do
Right.
have that. Yeah, I can
Okay.
look and get back to you.
I think I was looking on the Gateway about that and I didn't see any, but that was not.
No, I don't
Who
believe
knows?
you
There's
do.
so much on there to try to shift through it all is incredible.
It's a lot of data, but I have to say the system, you can get a lot of information from it. So it's interesting. Actually, all of this information for the presentation comes directly from there.
Mhm.
Cindy, the only comment, you're making this at the town meeting, right? This
What's that?
presentation. You're making this presentation at the town meeting?
Yeah,
Just for the uneducated people like some of us here, it would give the impression with the residential tax rate going to 12.25 that people are going to say, "Whoa, what, my taxes are going to go down," when in fact, because the values have increased so much, the taxes are still going to go up significantly for residential as well as commercial, right?
yeah, yeah, that is true. What you can kind of, if you look at that chart, like our levy went up 6%. So last year it was 2.3. So if you're looking at that, I mean, the average bill, if they choose the 0.7427, the average residential bill is going to go up $389, and then commercial $359. So, I mean,
I think that's a good talking point when you're presenting this, because otherwise some people are going to say, "Wow, our taxes are going to go down," and then when they see their tax bill, they're
Yeah.
going to see,
That's true.
wow.
no, you are right about that. The other thing too is if you look, like the value went up 8.5%. So, and people get confused about that because taxes is different than value.
Mhm.
So that the value went up 8%. So the tax bill, if they choose that, it's gonna go up 7. But our levy went up. Our levy went up 6.1%. So the levy went up 3 times what it was last year, really, percentage wise, if you look at that amount.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I will say something to that because it is confusing. People do get confused thinking that if their value went up especially with the tax rate, that confuses a lot of people because the tax rate for 23 was 12.42, so it's actually going to go down if that residential factor is determined. So, but yeah, I tried to make it simple. I'm sure a question like that will come up, but it all really depends on the spending, really. That's the thing. If what the town, right?
The maximum tax levy that has to do with our spending at town meeting, voting in additional, like the fields and all these different things that we voted in to pay out of our taxes over and above. So that's what the tax levy is, correct? We're
Yep.
voting that. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the money that we need to raise. And actually, if we have more growth, a lot of growth actually raises the levy limit. So we're not even, I guess the most important thing for the residents is to show them that and this is on page 16, our limit last year, I mean, our excess capacity is, we have plenty of excess capacity, 1.3 million of capacity. So we're not even at the maximum tax levy. So that's one good thing for residents to understand. Even though it's increased, we are not at our maximum tax levy.
Who wants to get that maximum?
No,
anyway?
no.
Yeah.
That's true.
I know when I first was running for assessor, people asked me, "Well, you can lower our taxes," and I said, "No, you lower the taxes by going to town meeting
Yeah.
and voting no to spending. That's the only thing that lowers the taxes." So,
Okay.
and it says it somewhere. I remember reading that somewhere on here. It says that it's up to the town or something to vote, or maybe it was on the
Oh,
gateway. I don't remember.
yeah,
It was somewhere.
on the assessor, on the role of the assessors page that
Okay.
that the town meeting actually decides what services the town.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then decisions impact the tax rates.
Mhm. Yeah, that's right. So you're making a presentation to the Board of Selectmen on the
On
5th?
The 5th at 6 o'clock.
Okay,
That's not a town meeting, that's just the Board of Selectmen.
Yes, yep. But residents can attend and
Open meeting.
I think there'll probably be a Zoom link too.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion on that rather? Okay.
Nice job, Linda.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
Excellent. Fiscal year 2024, assessing capital request for vision appraisal software.
On pages 24 and 25, there's a quote from Vision Appraisal. You probably remember we did get approval last town meeting for a capital request to convert IAS to Patriot properties. After further research and with discussion with other assessors, it seems like Vision Appraisal would be a better fit for Ayer. So I did submit a capital request. This is the quote that I wanted you to see. We did not use any of the money that was approved last year. It's 3 times the cost of Patriot, but the support, we can do the reporting here, and it is compatible with our financial software Munis as well. So it sounds like there'll be plenty of support. They're going to give us, it says 2 days, but they extended the training to 4. So this is going to be, if we do go forward with this and it is approved, it would be like a 6-month process where we would, they would convert. And then obviously we would need to check after the data is converted, the values, the sketching, card by card. So that's something I'm gonna get a little more information from them as to, the support to do that. Because it's going to affect, obviously it wouldn't be our personal property because we have RRC for those records. But it's probably going to be like 2,900 parcels that would have to be reviewed, commercial, industrial, and the residential, chapter land, all that, card by card to make sure. And we would obviously have to keep the other software active during this process, and probably have a physical paper copy of the records as well. So I just wanted to show you this quote. Next page kind of breaks it down for any optional services. They talk about GIS mapping. We actually have that with MRPC, Mr. Mapper. So that, that's not an option that I don't think we need, but it's available there, the quote for it if we did need it. And Vision, they've completed over 420 software installations in New England, and Patriot's done some. I've heard some, not horror stories, but that it's been difficult with the data, especially with IAS. It's totally different, the sketching, the way that it's broken down. Like with Patriot and Vision, you have first floor, second floor, and the square footage is broken down that way. With IAS, the sketches is just totally different. It takes like a main area, and then everything else is an add-on. A lot of the appraisers that come in don't understand. It's difficult on a house that has different levels and add-ons to figure out the square footage on the sketch for first floor, second floor. Whereas Vision and Patriot break it down, and Vision has some great reports. So I think it would make the role of the assessing department so much easier, just working with the software versus what we have now, which was actually an upgrade from State Camera and has some limitations to it.
That's something you want us to vote on, or the selectmen have to vote on that?
It would be town meeting. I just wanted to show you the quote, get any thoughts you thought, just make you aware of it. It's not a vote though, for the meeting. It's just informational.
So for this one, you said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ruth.
So for this one compared to the Patriot, you said this is like 3 times more expensive than the Patriot one was? So
Yeah,
instead of,
it is. Patriot was around 10. And the other thing too is this system, I mean, I think it's a little more well-known. Patriot's been having some issues with support. So, and that's one thing that's important when you do an upgrade like this, you've got to have support. And I've just heard the people that have Vision, it just seems to be a better conversion. They did tell me when we actually met with them, the lady came out and did a demonstration that if there was any issues after the conversion, she did say that in the data that they would, they would correct that right away. The only issue I have is I need to find out what they can guarantee, if they can guarantee anything, because it's quite a bit of work. If the data comes over, fine, but if the values aren't what they were in IAS and if it doesn't come over properly, we have to make sure that that data is correct. And the Department of Revenue also is also involved in that too. So they want to make sure that, obviously the data is going to, I worry about the values and more so with the sketching, but we'll see. But other people that have converted have spoken very highly of Vision.
so the GIS management on page 25, maintenance, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Would we need that? Because we do have the GIS with the not Mart, but anyway, the other company.
No, this is
Mine
like an optional. I mean, we could adopt to do that. Right now we have MRPC for our GIS and mapping, and we do our abutters list with them. And it's, if we have any issues, we call them and we get support right away. So I don't have any issue. I don't feel there's a need to upgrade to that, but it's always an option to do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was my question. On the optional services, which one would you use, if any,
Um,
on a yearly basis?
well, that's a cloud hosted solution. I'm not sure what that is. You know what I would honestly use is additional training. That's going to be a big thing. We are going to need some training for that. I know she provides us 4 days, but in the event that we did convert to the software, it would be nice to have the option of training if we did need it.
Okay.
Hopefully 4 days would be enough.
Okay. Any more discussion on that?
So this would be a capital request at the board at the annual meeting, because we only requested about $10,000 last year. So this would be an additional, or
It would
yes,
be,
okay.
yeah, it would be an additional request. And so we already have the money set aside from the Patriot. So it would just be the difference between that. And then I am going to do some further research to see as far as any support with reviewing, obviously, the data when it comes over. Because that's an area that it'd be nice to kind of get a definitive cost on that. I think initially, if it comes over and we notice things wrong right away, they said that they would correct that. But if
Sounds like a big job.
it is, it's going to be a big responsibility. So for us, but I do think we do need some kind of a solution, just so that we have, and even for the public, because we do get complaints from appraisers and people when they come in and get their record cards that they can't understand. And, some of these, like our record card doesn't list the prior assessments for only 1 year, but Vision, it breaks it down more. There's a lot more data there. So that's definitely something that would be helpful.
And just a question, when they do the conversion, do they not have part of the conversion where they check both databases so that it automatically would flag anything out of a certain percentage area?
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of times, they will have something where when the value comes over, and actually Dwayne Adams, who's a consultant that's been working with me, he did say that sometimes they will say like 5% difference in value. So that might be something, but you also want to check and make sure that it's being calculated properly, even with the commercial and industrial. Just you want all that to come over correctly too. So that probably will be something, but I'm hoping that we can somehow set up a system if they have the option to do that. I haven't gotten to that point yet to find out the details. This was just an initial quote, but it was very professional when they came in and just the options that are available. But she did say that if there was anything when they first convert, I'm sure they'll have some kind of parameters when they convert this data for us. So she did say that, you know, if there was something that came over, they would correct that right away. So my only fear is that to the time to review those, if we find stuff after the fact, to have to correct all that, it would be a huge undertaking. So it's unfortunately it's kind of unknown, but they have worked with
You've talked to other assessors that have had this conversion, and they
Yes.
haven't had any problem with either residential or commercial having changed widely in value.
I have talked to other assessors when they've converted to Patriot, and there have been issues with sketching, photos, and value. Vision, I know of one town that is proposing to change, and they've worked with others. And they all say it's like a 6-month process. So
Mhm.
you know, it really depends too on how, you know, the data, how it comes over. That's the thing. But I do have confidence. I was very impressed with them. So I can find out a little more information on what if there is any kind of guarantee or what they would use for parameters. It does say a little bit here. They're going to need to get an electronic file. So, but they did assure me that, you know, they will be here for support, and you know, we're not going to be kind of like left. Well, we're going to have to be. DOR is going to, you know, make us. We're going to have to have the you know, PDF. They're going to make us follow their guidelines as well. It's a big thing to do a data conversion.
It's on page 24, the first page of this. It says the proposal does not include any license fees or third-party products such as ESRs, and I don't know what that is.
Oh, that's I'm not sure what that might be. That's like a GIS, Marshall and Swift cost calculators. That's to our cost manual. They do, all these providers do make us pay a maintenance fee every year, like IAS, we're at 4,700. Next year it's going to go up to 4,850, I believe. So there is a maintenance fee every year that we do pay. And yeah, I believe that's the 6820. I believe that's what that is there.
Okay.
But it would make life a lot easier for us because it's just a very a system that's kind of limited, and it's like I said, it's hard for the public to understand. Jackie, when she enters deeds, has to do multiple screen entry, has to go into a future year. So this would make life so much easier. It wouldn't be as much data entry for her as well.
And they're going to help do all this, that it's a 3-month situation. Yeah.
They told me to allow 6 months, and
6 months.
going forward, if it is approved and if we do decide to do it, I would, I may even set up another computer system, so we still have to keep IAS till all the data is transferred and till we're feeling comfortable that it's all correct. We would also have, in addition to electronic file, which we'll send them, I probably would print out all of the field cards too, so that we have that as backup.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds mind-boggling.
Yeah. That's why with Patriot, I like to ask other assessors a lot of questions and get their feedback because, especially the ones that have done it. I did actually interview there's a town out west that had converted to Patriot, and they did it, but they just said it was a lot of work. So, and the support Patriot's support, I guess, hasn't been that great since they're not even Patriot, they're called Catalyst now. They were bought out, and the support hasn't been as good as it was in the past. So that's really important for us if we have any issues to be able to call someone.
This one, you've heard good reports, though, the Vision?
What was that again?
You've heard good reports on Vision?
I have, yep. Yeah, a lot of people say it's user friendly as well.
Oh, that's good. Okay. You still there, Jim?
I think we lost him.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm.
All right. Sounded like him. Do we have any old business? Ruth, you had a question at the beginning. I don't know if you got it answered or not.
No, it was just about the solar. I was very interested to learn, as Jackie said, some of the solar panels aren't even the owners of the property owners don't own the panels, they're rented. And so that makes it difficult to, but there's also, and what I've experienced now is maintenance fees for the solar panels I had put on it years ago. They're much higher than what the company had estimated. Of course, everything's gone up like crazy, but so solar panels can not just be a benefit, but they can also be an expensive situation doing the maintenance on them. Just to let you know, that's all. No big deal.
Okay. Any other old business? Anybody have?
I just have the abutters list that came in and that we did, and that's it for me for old business.
Okay. New business? Any new business?
Construction still continues on Panther Place. I'm hoping once the hearing is over with and we're all set with the billing file, I want to start the inspections. We have so many permits coming in every week. There's a lot of permits that come into the office. So whether it's decks, porches, finished basements. So I need to get out and start inspecting those so we can be working on the growth for next year.
Any other new business?
That's
Okay.
it.
How about our next meeting?
What would work for everyone? I know we have the holidays coming up.
Want to go into January? Or end of December? Probably January,
Yeah, January we would,
probably better.
let's see, I don't even have a calendar for January yet. Gone by too fast.
Yep.
It does.
I don't know if you want to do the week of the 17th, would that work? Or the week of the 15th on the 17th, which is Wednesday?
That's sounds okay to me.
Yeah, I should be able to do the 17th.
Yeah, I'm good for the 17th.
17th at 2:00.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That concludes our open meeting. Shall we make a motion that we go into executive session executive session pursuant to general law C-30A, section 21A. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded. Ruth, how do you vote on that?
Aye.
Jim, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Aye.
You're in executive session now.